Welcome back to Video Head Cleaner. My name is Tommy, and we're about to get into part 2 for The Mummy. We got more sand. We got more Hamdai. We got more crazy facial expressions by your favorite mummy and mine. Coming up now.
And so yes, we see another cutaway of Imhotep basically reaching for him, being like, well, I'm in the room with the guy I want,
Yes.
but he got me here, and now you're real fucked. So so we cut past his scream or whatever, and as that happens, the Americans and Rick, sort of at the bar, see the water around them has turned blood. We are now in the plagues part of the scene.
Yes, we're in full-on Dark Omens territory here. First locust, and now water turning into blood.
Which is followed quickly by the third one here, because they step outside and they see a hail of fire essentially coming down upon them. It seems like at this moment we're going to get all 10, but I'm sorry, spoiler, we get like 6. Yeah. I don't know that some of them were as important
only
or
6
film-worthy as other. I know. What a lazy apocalypse.
Only 5 stars for this film. Gee, no. But yeah, so we're already seeing 3 terrible omens. But yeah, let's see, our heroes have a encounter with the mummy, right? The mummy.
Yes.
Yeah.
They stumble in to find Imhotep. I think we see Burns's R.I.P. Drained corpse. Once again, no fluid left unturned for these particular people being.
They were warned. They were warned, and now they're getting what they got. The mummy, the Egyptians were very verbose. Like again, yeah.
This is where we start to see, I think, Arnold Voss. I swear to God, I still think this is Billy Zane. The actual actor that plays the mummy.
We first see not Billy Zane. We're going to call him pseudo Billy Zane for the rest of our podcast. He's starting to degenerate, but there are pieces missing from him. But he wants a kiss. Evelyn is sleeping, and he is approaching her quietly to steal a kiss from her, but that of course wakens her up and is discussing. He is missing his jaw and mouth for most of his regeneration.
Yeah,
and he's definitely missing a lot of it now. So Evelyn's getting kissed by a corpse, a juicy one. But a corpse.
Which, if you have to get a kiss from a corpse, maybe that's better.
Well, I don't know. That's going to be for another podcast. Juicy versus dry corpse. You weigh in, audience. Let us know.
Right in now.
But right at the last moment, saving her is Evelyn's cat, Cleo, and the presence of the cat sends the mummy into conniptions. He bugs out, which makes sense. And I believe it is Evelyn who explains cats are the traditional guardians of the underworld.
He has a spectacular exit once he's scared by the cat. He literally just goes, ah, and then flies out the window in a burst of sand in a way that I wish I could leave every party, frankly.
The mummy is a role model to us gays, for sure. Making dramatic entrances and exits, making your centuries, millennia-long drama everyone's business, sucking men dry of their fluids. Really, my hero.
He's nailing it.
Yeah. Gay icon.
So at this point, the Americans sort of fold into our party of heroes because they're just fleeing, basically. They're like, why don't we get the fuck out of here together? Like, it's not really a discussed thing. It's just like, why don't we get away from this mummy? And hey, there's a car. Let's all sort of hop in type something.
Yeah.
And so they do go to Evie's workplace as the place they flee, and they find Evie's boss meeting with the Magi leader, the unnamed hunk there.
The curator apparently knows who they are, is familiar with them, and knows why they are present. They are, of course, the Magi, the ancient society who was trying real hard to protect Hymenoptera, and they failed, and now all hell is breaking loose. But
he's the one that talks about the cats and why he fears them because they're
That's
guardians
right.
of the underworld.
That's right, yes.
And then they also talk about Evie being identified as a Noxuna Moon, and frankly, sort of shift that off and to say that she's to be the human sacrifice to bring her back. So it is kind of a weird, like, does he think she's her? Does he think she's the sacrifice? In a way that I think is covered by the second movie. I genuinely haven't seen that one in forever.
Yeah,
but I think they lean more into that she like is the reincarnation of a Noxuna Moon. I'm sure the mummy heads out there can correct me. But,
we'll have to go into this on another podcast, but that sounds familiar. Yeah.
I think they take that beat a little further on that. But anyhow, that's what they're like, yo, you're just really don't hang out with that guy one way or the other. And as this is all happening, an eclipse happens, the plague of darkness. So we're up to like four now
by my count, our apocalypse count. Yeah.
Rick locks Evie in a room and sort of tasks the Americans with keeping her safe and locked in there while he enlists Jonathan to come with him. I don't think that's a great plan, but frankly, that's fine.
It's what they got, but yeah. But yeah, let's see. So
we're missing the professor type something. Like the gunman, the American gunmen sort of go with him, but the Professor Fezman at this point we see going down an alley with Imhotep pursuing him in a sort of again horror movie-esque shot.
We've now discovered apocalypse sign number 5, plagues. We now have denizens of Cairo infected by plagues, and it is bringing him under the sway of the mummy, and they are now his kind of zombie-like horde. And let's see, Fez wearing scholar, he just gets pulled apart by the mob, right? I think just Imhotep gets him. There's definitely another guy. Well, he gets all his fluids drained.
Well, he's dead. Yeah. He's real dead.
Yeah, I think he gets cornered, and we see him like kind of his in shadow silhouette, being lifted up and drained, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
One of those, you're definitely fucked, but we're not going to show it on screen situations. Yeah. But at some point, Rick also finds Benny again and sort of begins to sort of threaten him in a cute little sing-song voice. Like, you came back from the desert with a new friend, Benny, didn't you? And Benny explains that he's immune to what's going on, which is like the plague book. But as a scream happens, which I believe is the professor's death, Benny manages to get out the window as a distraction to escape there on that. So we see the screen came from the professor. Imhotep has regenerated even more. And then as they're looking out the window, he shoots flies from his mouth right at them. And they close the window in a way that's like, oh, maybe not. Like, maybe we don't want that.
Second, like silver place or biggest gay moment of the film is every time he unhinges his jaw. It just, again, he's got gay skills. He's got a jaw that is enviable. Exactly. But
he does unhinge his jaw to like shoot flies at somebody.
Yeah, and this actor, as we'll discover, just again and again, gives real mouth. This actor, he is working his mouth in some of the most crazy, just snarls or maniacal, mouth wide open, kind of crazy
some
looks.
Pouty looks at times. Like he does do a lot with that. He hardly says anything throughout the movie. It is interesting in that way. Like,
but he works that mouth, not in a sexual way. Again, this is a tasteful film for a family.
Aside from the weird, gross, melty kiss he just had.
Exactly. So we now have, I guess we call this the sixth sign, a plague of flies.
Right. Too. I think this is our final sort of plague thing. You did call out boils here. I feel like we might.
That was number 5, I believe, as far as signs that we see.
We might have made it to 7. I don't know. But for the record, for those of you out there, we missed the death of the livestock. We definitely missed death of the firstborn, and I feel like we missed lice. Lice probably wasn't a very cinematic or fun thing to film. Like, oh no, we're really itchy now. Like, it's less of a fire coming from the sky and blood, coming down of.
It's just it kind of the point's been made. I think.
I'm sorry for you lice heads out there or plague completionists. But like.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't please everyone. but send us your hate mail regardless. Let's see. So yeah, so we're having apocalypse happening around us.
Well, Evie's still locked in a room at this point,
Yes.
which, again, probably not going to help against this guy. I'm going to say, Imhotep sort of bursts into the antechamber where she's being kept as, wind and sand. Again, what an entrance.
Yeah. He's got drama down. For sure.
He quickly dispatches the one American left to be there and to take him out because, what is the American going to do with a gun at this point? He just is like...
so that's... Have all of our American explorers been killed at this point?
No, we have one left to fully be...
drained and pruned.
Dried out.
Yes.
So he's done, and we see that he's almost full not Billy Zane at this point, and renders that American as a drained corpse.
Exactly.
I don't care about his name, frankly. I'm sure he has one again.
It
doesn't matter.
He's dead.
He's had a whole 3 minutes of screen time or whatever. But in another fun, sort of less dramatic entrance way, but way to get around a locked door, because I'm sure Imhotep could just kick this door in if he felt like it.
Yeah.
We see the keyhole start to fill with sand or to empty out.
That's right.
Where we get a cool shot of him entering the room in sort of a sneaky way because he has power over sand. A little less dramatic there, but this is where he kisses a sleeping Evie. He may have had
did I skip ahead? Yeah,
something.
skip ahead.
Well, he has two scenes like this, where he's essentially in Evie's room type something or whatever. And then Rick comes in with the cat in hand this time, having seen that the cat earlier scared him off, and just holds up the cat like, "What about this motherfucker?" And sure enough, Imhotep's like, "Ah!"
He's learned that guns are not the weapon of choice, but cats are. So he's resourceful, he adapts, and in comic fashion, which is just even better.
We've seen pussy as his just weakness throughout this movie. It's what got him into this whole coffin and this sarcophagus in the first place. So,
boom, boom.
So this is continuing.
So yes, we get another humorous scene of cats saving the day.
And as Evie's very shook by this, having just been assaulted by a mummy, Rick says, "Are you okay?" And before she can respond, Jonathan goes, "I think I'm fine."
This is why Jonathan is beloved.
Jonathan's great. Oh, Jonathan, yeah.
What a schmuck, but you love him.
So Evie at this point, whenever they're okay, we're probably alone, starts to opine that if the Black Book brought back Imhotep from the dead, maybe the Gold Book that they were looking for in the first place can reverse that. She starts to put her classics and literature and history degrees to work here, and we now see an army of people covered in boils as they're kind of talking this out, just zombie walking towards the museum where they are at this point, and led by Imhotep as well, and holding Benny in their grasp as he's very unhappy looking about it. We get the vibe Benny did try to just run off, but that the boil people or Imhotep found him were like, no, I still have one person to dejuice.
Yes. Yeah, Benny has cast his lot, and he's dragged along. But we have one more American that is a juice box basically.
Yes. Ready to be fully juiced. So they all fuck off at this point. Our heroes, they get in a car, and they're like, "Well, time to leave because this army of Boyle people and Imhotep are here. They found us." So they're driving off, and as they are, they encounter a ton more Boyle zombies in the street. Essentially,
they shoot their way out.
And they're having decided they're being accosted on all sides. Some of these people are literally flinging themselves on top of them, so they're trying to have to throw them off, to shoot them off. And it's at this point where the American in the back gets caught by 3 people who are trying to wrest him out of that. And he does say, he says, Rick O'Connell or something. And Brendan Fraser looks at him, but really does not take a lot of effort to shoot anybody off him. Doesn't lunge at the guy and be like, "No, nameless American guy," because I don't think he knows his name either, frankly, at this point. He's not Jeff, is it? He's not too put out.
Would prefer that he didn't get juiced, but it's not gonna dive into the play plagued mob.
I'm not going to lift a muscle.
Yeah.
And so we see him get dragged out. And at that point, that's when he gets pretty cornered and, has his little pistols. And he's like, pow, 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 and takes out a few of them. But then is like, oh, click, 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 click. Like, my gun is empty. And the crowd parts. Imhotep comes out and decides that he doesn't need those juices anyways. What is he using those organs for? I can do this better if...
Exactly.
But as this happens, and as we've been warned, this pretty much puts him at full power. He now has all of these box people dealt with.
Yeah. He has achieved his final form.
He no longer has various fun new holes on his body. He is full not Billy Zane.
Exactly.
And loving life, I have to imagine. Yeah, he's got all of his things back. He's got tongues, eyes, genitals, whatever have you.
Really feeling himself now. Exactly. Yeah. But let's see. So next day, our heroes, they arrive at a Air Force base, right? So our drunken pilot that we meet previously, we meet him again, and our heroes implore him for aid, and particularly his plane. And so...
Oh, okay. Yeah. There is one thing real quick on that I'll say on this last scene, is because it's important as to what's going on there. We do... first of all, Evie does translate the stone and says the locations of the books is mixed up. She does this in hearing range of Jonathan and Rick, basically saying, the statue we dug it up in, I think it's this other statue. And that's important because they don't actually make it out of the car where all the zombie people are. They get cornered. And Imhotep comes out and essentially... ends up taking Evie, but just Evie, because Evie negotiates to basically say,
"That's right.
Take me. Her friends will be spared. Yeah, if you take my hand," type something. And so she accepts in order to save everybody, and says not to fight now because she's going to be taken to Hominoptera, where they have to complete the ritual. She's basically saying, "This is bad, but I'm not going to die like right now. So why don't you try to work something out of this?"
Yeah. She leverages her smarts to understand that they actually have a bit more time, not a lot, but her friends will clearly get killed right on the spot. And even in the midst of this, there's a funny moment where Evelyn corrects Benny's translation. Benny is translating for the mummy, but is not as skilled as Evelyn. And so even in the midst of saving her friends and confronting the greatest horror of all time, she finds a moment to humorously, academically shade Benny. Yes.
And Benny does steal the puzzle box, and frankly, it doesn't seem like the agreement is really honored that much, because they do have to escape into the sewer. And Evelyn's boss stays to fight the crowd with a sword for some reason, and is like just quickly mobbed to death, like what you would expect to happen.
He heroically buys our heroes time. But they're dwindling. We're now just down to the core group at this point, our heroic three. But Evelyn is in the clutches of the mummy now. Right.
So just our two, really. We just have Rick and Jonathan, and that's when.
Well, and our mysterious unnamed Magi, who is now joined them in their cause.
He has. That's correct. He was along in the car doing stuff. And so at this point, they're basically having to figure out, how do we get to Hominoptera quickly? Yes. And that is when we dovetail back to Winston, our good friend here, who is having tea in a desert in a great shot, just bloviating about his time in the Royal Air Corps.
Just serving British realness. You cannot start your day without a cup of tea. And this is no exception.
And they kind of tell him about the mission, and he's expressing great interest in it, because the only real character trait this guy has in our two very brief scenes with him are that all of his friends kind of died in like a Royal Air Force, like perhaps World War I were to insinuate at this time. And he's like, I wanted to do that. Like, I wanted to die in a blaze of glory. And so he's like, a dangerous mission I might not live through. Sign me up. Like,
yeah, he's a what is a joyful warrior? What's the phrase I'm looking for? I'll think of it towards the end of the podcast. kind of soldier of fortune. He's like just he's a adventurer through and through.
The old welcoming death, because he's an older man too at this point. Type something that we see if.
He wants one last moment of glory.
He wants a warrior's death, I suppose. Is the thing that we would say of that. But so they do convince him to go. It doesn't take much convincing, mind you, and they are in a cute little prep plane essentially. There's not even enough seats for their whole party. They throw the Magi on the wing.
and Evelyn. They strap both of them to the wing.
Evelyn's not here. She's...
oh, no, that's right. Yeah, no, it's Jonathan, right?
Evelyn is literally riding in a sandstorm that later flings her and Benny out of it. We see,
That's right. It's Rick. It's Rick riding with the pilot, and then it's Jonathan and Magi strapped to the wing. Which, that's there you go. Yeah.
Honestly, the Magi looks like he's loving it. He's like, "Are you okay?" And they just like full on grinning. But
yeah. Which, hey, I bet that would be awesome for sure. Anyone in the audience, if you've ever been strapped to the wing of a plane and gone flying, let us know what it's like.
If you are Flash from the StarCraft II scene in the early 2000s, riding into a tournament on a plane wing, let us know. So they do pass a giant sandstorm in the air as we are in the plane type something, and that is the one that, yes, we just see like unceremoniously just fling Evie and Benny out into a sand dune because we are to take it that this is Imhotep, and basically he's just letting him ride along in his body as a sandstorm type something of another weird, probably could talk for a while on body horror, whatever's happening there.
Yeah. No, actually, that's a good point. There's like bodies are they're very fluid things in this film. Either they're turning into sand, or they're being rendered for their fluid, or things are burrowing in them. Bodies are they're porous in this film. Huh? That's.
And they can be resurrected too. I mean, it's just a thing, but.
I think you just hit on something there. Boundaries are kind of a porous thing in this film in a lot of ways.
For sure. So they kind of get a neat little scene where Imhotep is sort of like, after they've stopped, he's sort of guiding the sandstorm, like flinging his hands up in the air, doing sort of a conductor, like a Fantasia-looking thing. And they apparently had to cut away real quick on these scenes because the same wind they were using to blow up the sand kept blowing up his little man skirt, not Billy Zane, and to be like just showing his ass off, and they were like, okay, so they like shot it from like waist up or something, but it was
that's funny. Okay.
But it's a pretty interesting scene too because the sandstorm turns into like a full-on face that's like with the mouth going to eat this plane out of the air. Like,
So we see the mummy on the ground, the plane in the sky, and he starts making dramatic gestures with his body, but especially his mouth. And I mentioned this before. The mummy's got a mouth, and what he is doing with his face, it is manifesting in this sandstorm that he is summoning with his powers and directing at the plane. So we're treated to, and honestly, I guess I'm kind of being catty and funny about it, but the actor he fully commits, and I never thought even for a moment that it's something that could have been really cheesy and you could easily find yourself laughing at it, but I don't know, it kind of makes sense. Like the drama of the character is established at this point, and so with him just kind of with his mouth just like really leaning into like the snarls and sneers and like crazy wide-eyed looks, and it's like no, I bought it. Okay, it made sense at that moment, He
does do a lot while saying a little, and frankly, he's about to kill them via mouth when Evie does kiss him, surprising him out of it.
We have mouth versus mouth. We have the power.
Evie says, "I can give mouth too."
we have the power of the mummy's mouth, and then the power of her kiss. Yes. So yes, the dueling mouth power here. It distracts him in a key moment, and the plane is able to escape.
Well, it still explodes behind a sand dune.
Well, they escape the mummy's sandstorm, but at a cost.
That's true. They do a crash landing.
They do crash into a dune. Our heroic our British pilot gets his one last moment of glory and unfortunately dies in the crash. leaving our three, Rick, Jonathan, the unnamed Magi, to trek into the desert.
They do survive. Yeah. Again, watch the movie. If you see this explosion, I'm a bit skeptical as to how they must have been flung off in some way. Like, perhaps the wing people surviving is fine. Yeah, but Rick must have jumped out because it is an explosion. Not that big of a plane, huge explosion. But they're fine. They're all fine.
Yeah.
And frankly, even Winston, when they go over to him to be like, oh, he is dead, is like still perfectly intact, and so is the plane. So I'm like, what happened behind that sand dune? Like, what?
Yeah, it's a family-friendly film, so they can't show Winston just busted up, but yeah, he's
body parts askew, like throughout the sand dunes.
Exactly. So
he closed his eyes. He's dead. He's perfectly peacefully dead. Yeah,
exactly.
That's how we died.
And it sinks into a sand dune. So yes, the desert claims the plane and the pilot. So the mummy thinks that of course they couldn't possibly have survived that crash. Proceeds with his captive Evelyn and Benny to Hamunaptra. Meanwhile, our heroes, they survive. They trek into the desert, but we
get the vibe they got close enough to Hamunaptra to like basically hoof it in at this point. Evie is with Imhotep and Benny being taken down to the sort of ritual chambers. Yeah. We get another cute line from Benny or whatever, because Evelyn informs him that men like him always get their comeuppance, and Benny's like, they do? Like, it's like, wait, I didn't know that. Like,
I genuinely had not thought of this.
Huh.
Crap. Yeah.
And then we see it cuts to like Jonathan the Magi and Rick sort of trying to get in the caved-in area, where Rick and the Magi, as our much more missly people, are sort of getting the rocks off, while Jonathan in the background's like, oh, put your back into it. Come on, like, work a little harder, until they both just stop what they're doing and look at him, and he's like, oh, I'll just be quiet. That's okay. You're doing great, guys. But at this time, while they're doing that, Jonathan sort of sees and has the same choice the jailer did, because he sees the scarabs on the wall. And much like our unscrupulous jailer will say, Jonathan himself does not hang on to scruples very tightly, and so he starts popping some off the wall. And as he does that, he gets one of the scarabs coming into his skin, and he starts screaming as it goes about.
We think that Jonathan's finally gonna get it. He's finally his antics are finally gonna catch up with him. The thing's burrowing through his arm. It's getting real close to his brain, but Rick, he saves the day. He whips out a big old knife and just stabs it right in his arm. Just like cuts it out and like just kind of pops it out like a bottle cap.
Very strategic and a very big knife. And this again brings to mind the thing that I don't think there is blood in this film, but by God, would there be blood in this scene?
Yeah, fact, for as many people get stabbed. Yeah.
Because this is not a small scarab or a small knife.
No,
and so he has to dig it in there and pop that thing out of.
They don't spare the sound effects, so you definitely get the sound of flesh being either torn into or knifed into. But Jonathan is saved from our ravenous scarabs. And meanwhile, let's see. Well,
this is when Imhotep brings up his priests. He's finally got his bro priest, and he tells him to two orders here: one, kill them, and two, wake up your other buddies.
Yeah. So he's getting the band back, and it's the gang is awake.
There's a very funny moment right after this where previously in the movie, Evie had like delicately turned a mirror to light up a whole chamber with a series of mirrors in the sun. Well, Rick walks into this really dark room that's gigantic, sees a mirror, and just shoots it, which, I don't know why you would do that, but he must have shot it perfectly on the not glass part, because it perfectly rotates it into lighting up this whole massive treasure room. It's a very... I don't know. Rick can do no wrong in this movie. There's really not much wrong he's done at all. He's great with guns. He's great with knives. And he's just a lucky dude. And he's just like, this will probably work out for me. Pow! Shoot this mirror. What's the worst that could happen? 7 years of bad luck?
Yeah. They find gold, but at this point, they're so over it. Jonathan is tempted. Rick is not. He's just like, no.
No, not at this point. Yeah,
it's got to be cursed with something.
Jonathan's like, do we have time? And like, no, we don't. Like, we're busy, Jonathan.
yeah. Let's try not to have the world end. Come on. Yeah. So
they get interrupted by the mummies or whatever, the priests, where Rick says, who the hell are these guys? And is told by the Magi that they're Imhotep's priest. Rick responds, oh, all right then, and then just proceeds to shoot them. I don't know.
Yeah.
He really didn't need an answer to that question. He was going to shoot them anyways, I imagine.
It's just the more you know. Anyway, and then right after that, start shooting.
Okay. Yeah. And they have some big guns in this scene. They shoot them. Rick and the Magi shoot them with their big manly guns. Jonathan shoots them with a pistol for a second, and then ends up throwing the pistol at the mummy. This will probably work.
Bullets just not very effective. They just don't learn this. They try to make those guns work, and nope, they just never do.
And as our heroes are leaving that scene in the treasure room, being chased by the mummies, we see Benny go in there, and he starts to load up some of that treasure.
Yeah.
He says, I don't think you really need me right now. I'm going to start doing this.
Yeah, he sees an opportunity. There's a distraction going on, so he starts loading his pockets. And see, and then we kind of lose track of Benny a bit, right? He's
doing his thing. We got a Noxunamun at this point laid out next to tied up Evie.
There's a lot going on right now.
Been doing their stuff. Imhotep unlocks the Book of the Dead and really starts to do the ritual. He's been busy getting it done. So
we're getting dangerously close to the final moment here. Evelyn is on like a slab next to the desiccated corpse of Noxunamun. We're starting to see ripples and smoky, inky water once again. Evil's going down. But here comes Rick with the Golden Book of Amun-Ra.
It's true. Rick and Jonathan they're looking for it, and they find it pretty quickly exactly where Evie had deduced it would be in another statue. I forget. I think it's Anubis. It's under
the base of Anubis statue.
And then they find it, the Golden Book, the Book of Amun-Ra, and at this point, seeing that, the Magi sort of takes on a self-sacrificial act himself and just says, "I'll take all these mummies. You get the book and go. Basically, like go save Evie and whatnot."
Yeah. We don't see him die. This will be important later.
We don't see him die, but he is fighting a lot of mummies, and Rick throws dynamite at him.
Yeah, I mean, Rick tries real hard to kill him, for sure.
Rick's like, well, if you're going to die anyways, let's just close that door up, too.
Shove this up your ass and light in, so cool. All right. Meanwhile, Rick has got a new golden sword, and so he's put down the gun. The gun's they've just done nothing this entire movie, and he's picked up the sword. He's gone old school, and he's got, with his big ass golden sword, he's cutting down mummified priests and undead. So yeah, he's fighting. Things are happening. Action's going on. While all this is happening, let's see.
We cut to again, where Noxunamun's like, you already covered that her inky soul has come back and is laid down and whatnot, and it does take up. She's alive again in a mummy body. She is not herself, and not her beautiful snatched ass 4 hours of body paint. So
presumably has some number of women to suck dry. I don't know.
Well, and it's also, as he's about to kill Evie at this point, Imhotep, he says that she must die so Noxunamun can live. So there's probably going to be some body magic happen after this.
Evelyn presumably will be her first juice box.
And this will make him invincible, too. And so I would probably just keep stabbing at that point, but he gets distracted by Jonathan being just a little scoundrel up there, being like, look at me, I've got a golden book. And it gives Imhotep pause. He's like, the fuck? Like...
But let's see, Jonathan, with his book, he accidentally summons more mummies. He's just making everything more difficult.
He does, like, as you mentioned, O'Connell is like very comically beating mummy ass in like kind of a jokey, actiony way. Like he cuts off a mummy's head as the mummy like juggles it, like, and it's like, oh, my head. Like he kicks one in the nuts at one point, which I'm like, I don't know what that would do to a mummy. Like,
he's got some instincts, you know. They've served him well in the past, so you know.
It's a very funny scene, frankly. Like, it is good action, but it's the exact tone of the movie. It's like actiony with a bit of joke
with these great dashes of comedy.
At least 20% joke in there.
Exactly.
And then he hits Evie with a one-liner being like, mummies, right? Like, And that's when he gets his, he's sort of grabbed by the ankle and is like actually taken down at that point. And they have the upper hand on him, and his sword is out of reach. He's reaching for it. I can't reach it. Oh no, oh no. But he sees a mummy hand like sort of crawling towards it. And right as the mummy hand grabs it, he's able to grab the arm and then save himself. He slices the ankles off a mummy, who crushes himself with the big crushing rock that was meant to kill Rick, as Jonathan is then reading half the cover of the gold book. And a group of mummy soldiers pop out. He's very pleased with himself for doing this.
Yeah, but Jonathan, after making things more complicated, he then goes back to reading the book and just in time is able to take control of the mummy warriors.
So what happens is that Jonathan, he is so pleased with himself after reading the first half of the book that these things come to life, but Evie's like, you have to finish reading the book thing, because he's like, then you can control them. Because these soldiers actually do start fighting with Rick to give him more to do with the sword and look more badass and whatnot. While Jonathan's running away and hiding in corners, and it's kind of like, hey, Evie, what does this, like, stork thing mean and sound like? And she's being choked to death by Inoxunamun, who's chasing her at the moment. There's three things happening. Rick is fighting zombies, Inoxunamun is chasing Evie. Jonathan's doing that. And frankly, Imhotep not doing anything. Like, I was kind of shocked in this scene. I was like, he's just kind of taking a break. It's just like, this is probably going to be fine, whatever. And so Jonathan does ultimately get the words right, and that is when the soldiers are under his control. He tells them to go kill Inoxunamun or save Evie or whatever. And again, Imhotep, who could have done anything at any time at this point, just stands back and goes, "No!" as the guards once again kill his love.
I should mention these members are actually the Pharaoh's guard. They're dressed in the garb of the Pharaoh's personal guard, and in a grand moment of dramatic irony and comeuppance, Inoxunamun killed herself before they could get her, but now they get her this time. They
gotcha, bitch.
Exactly. We ran it 3,000 years.
We close this story arc 3,000 years later on that.
Exactly.
But once again, the invincible man-made sand and all power is over there, just probably feet away from this happening. And just not solve this problem. So he's just too far and can do nothing to save his love. And in grand dramatic fashion, he calls out, but it's too late. That's whatever. It's great for the story. It is a minor nitpick, but I was struck by that because I was like keeping track of who's in what scene or what's doing what in this scene, and I was like, all right, mummies, Rick. Inoxunamun, Evelyn, Jonathan, nobody's really chasing Jonathan. Jonathan's just like fucking off by himself. And then I'm like, what is Imhotep doing? And nothing, as it turns out, and nothing positive. So he's not helping Inoxunamun. He's not helping the mummies.
He's trying to find his way out of the plot hole, basically, that he got sucked into, as it turns out. So but he reemerges. Inoxunamun, she's been stabbed repeatedly by the Pharaoh's guard. Let's see. What is going on now?
So he goes to kill Jonathan because he's like, "Hey, Jonathan, you just murdered the woman I just spent a really long time."
That was rude. Come here, get your ass over here.
And so as he's trying to kill Jonathan, Rick does use his sword to chop off the arm of Imhotep. Which Imhotep really just kind of turns around and like stares at him, like, "Did you fucking really just do that to me?" And he starts flinging Rick around like some sort of rag doll or female in a drop movie, because Rick does get flung around a whole lot right here.
First of all, good call back to our previous podcast episode. And so we're finally getting the direct confrontation between our hero Rick and the mummy. They're now just going right at it. But Evelyn has she now has the Book of Amun-Ra in her possession, and she is now reading from it. She is reading an incantation that will strip the mummy of his immortality, and we get this scene of a spectral chariot being ridden by the god Anubis with horses coming out of the kind of smoky, inky place that Anck-su-namun, I guess, has been in, and just rides right towards the mummy, rides through him, and pulls his soul just out of his body. The soul is dragged on Anubis's chariot back to the underworld, and it looks quite distressed and furious and anguished at this. And the mummy in fleshy physical form looks similarly and is just aghast at what has happened to him, but doesn't really quite realize just the full extent of it.
It's not fully said what's happening there completely yet, but we do see he's not dead. It didn't just like his body doesn't fall to the floor in a way that's like my corporal or like my soul type something.
Yeah, he's still on his feet, but he's been lessened. His immortality, the one impediment to our heroes this entire time, his unkillability is now no more.
And we saw how powerful he was right before this, because before his soul is ripped out, Evelyn does say, like, hey, keep him busy. And in a very slapstick moment, the next thing we see is Rick being literally flung across the room into a wall, and just slamming into stuff. So he's very powerful in that moment, but then after his soul's ripped out here, or whatever, his immortality and his power, presumably, he sort of starts to walk up to Rick, and Rick just stabs him in the chest. He's like, yeah, this works now. So
yeah, almost kind of accidentally walks onto Rick's sword, like just arrogantly, thinking nothing has happened, but no, he has been reckoned with by Anubis. His power is gone, and he is now finally dying.
And after he gets stabbed, we get a very Terminator-esque sequence where he sort of stumbles backward into the black pit of faces, souls, something that begins sucking him slowly downward. Yeah. But the last thing we see of him is his sort of skull and face, and he starts to degenerate back into the mummy as he's sinking slowly into this pit of, again, whatever.
Smoky ether.
Spooky goo.
Yeah. Ectoplasmic kind of stuff. Yeah. And his final words, death is only the beginning. In, classic villain fashion. Go out with an ominous note.
Gotta have that stinger, or at least a thumbs up as you sink into the lava. Yeah, Terminator style or something. Like a middle finger, maybe the mummy would have brought out there.
But like all good movie franchise villains, he sets up the sequel. So good job, mummy. But our heroes have won. They've saved the day. The apocalypse has been averted.
And their reward is that the temple is now collapsing around them, where...
Well, crap.
the ceiling's closing down on them. Every single wall, door, ceiling seems to be crushing down.
It was kept up by pure evil, and now it
must have been
crumbling.
I have a lot of questions about this entire situation and scene, frankly.
Yeah,
but... fascinating
architecture, right? Where an ancient mummy is the load-bearing structure, but whatever.
It makes for at least a good scene where sand's pouring in from the walls and everybody's having to run out. Once again, Jonathan is sort of looking around at the treasure, and they're like, no, we have to
no, put it back, put it back. Yeah, exactly.
We see also Jonathan being a dumbass, because right as the first thing we see him as he's fleeing this temple, falls down and flings the golden book right into the spooky goo. Yeah. Where Evelyn's like, "What the fuck? You just what?" Jonathan.
Yeah. There are some very, very convenient mishaps throughout the film. Maps burning, books getting flung. Mm-hmm. Objects are fated to do what they will in this movie for sure. So,
we do see Benny being here because presumably he's been going back and forth and ferrying treasure this whole time, making the best of it.
Yeah. We lost track of Benny. He was off camera, but he was busy still. His pockets are loaded with gold and treasure and whatnot. But unfortunately, with the temple coming down around him, doors are dropping, hallways are getting closed off, and Benny unfortunately gets trapped in the room, in the treasure room. So,
After he yells out for help from Rick, "O'Connell, save me!" And Rick actually does give at least a little effort, like frankly more than the car American got.
yeah. Rick's warmed up a bit, and even does make an effort to save Benny of all people, but it's too late.
It's not to be. He's trapped in the treasure room in a fit of irony. And
once Benny's fate is sealed, Rick is just kind of like, screw him. Moving on. I tried.
We do see a whole scene dedicated here to Benny's comeuppance because, much like Evelyn foretold, it's here.
Yes.
Here it is.
Yeah. Benny gets trapped in a chamber full of horrible scarab beetles. His torch flickers a bit more, and goes out. And in the darkness, we, of course, understand what is happening based on his screams and the chittering of scarabs. He is presumably devoured, as we've seen plenty of times when a wave of scarabs descends on someone.
He is bones, yeah. I don't think we covered exactly, but there were definitely a worker or two at one point that, Rick and Jonathan, jump off to the side of a ramp, but the worker's just running down it, and the scarabs just fully reduce him to bones.
Yeah. So we can guess as to Benny's ultimate fate. We will probably not see him in the sequel. No. But that brings us to the concluding scene of the film.
Yeah, as they're sort of running out of Hamunaptra, where, again, the city is collapsing all around them. Mm-hmm. And I've never been in a collapsing Egyptian temple, but the explosions, again, are massive as this is happening. It was like Michael Bay got to be in charge of destroying this temple. Sure, write in if you've ever been in a collapsing Egyptian temple as to the explosiveness of it, I suppose.
Maybe they had dynamite. It was an excavation. Maybe it was that. I don't know. I mean, Rick throws some dynamite down a hallway. Maybe there was more dynamite in there. I don't know. I'm trying.
That's the best explanation, maybe. Yeah, there was dynamite involved, but he was just blowing up some hallways. I don't know.
Yeah.
These seem like foundational issues. And the fact that, it wasn't just the walls, leaned in and collapsed. It was something has been activated here.
Yeah.
What activation mechanism do you have tied to a mummy dying that you never thought was going to come back in the first place?
Ancient self-destruct mechanism. Who knows? They had molten salt acid. Sure. Sure. Okay. Fine.
At least that was tied to a physical mechanism of you open this door, I'm gonna salt acid you. But this one was this temple is fine right up until you suck the soul out of someone with a chariot, and then you know what? Fuck this temple. This temple is no more of a.
If I can't have this temple, nobody will. Yeah.
But. Yes, so that happens. They're all kind of staring at this temple, probably with the same incredulity I am about well, that had a big explosion. But being focused on this, a hand reaches out from behind them and scares the shit out of them. And they're like, oh my God. And it happens to be our still unnamed Magi, who in about 30 seconds gets his name in the credits, but he doesn't get to have a name in this movie. So.
I guess he was the nameless one this whole time.
He must not be named.
What? Anyway, I'm trying real hard here. Anyway,
this is where I have my note, because right at the end I was like, we still have not gotten his name to my knowledge.
The credits are getting dangerously close here.
I was holding out for my boy.
Yeah.
But Jonathan remarks that they're going home empty-handed. Rick says, I wouldn't say that, as he and Evie are now basking in their love and riding one camel back to base together and stuff.
Rick finds the one treasure worth finding, and that is, of course, Evelyn. They kiss deeply, and this is, of course, contrasted with Jonathan trying to kiss a camel. What is this?
He takes what he can get.
Yeah,
I don't imagine Jonathan has a great game.
But comic relief to the very end, and they.
And the last thing we really see as they're riding off is that the camel they're on actually is packed full of treasure, because this is what Benny was loading up on the camel stuff during his mini treasure runs here.
So they didn't steal treasure they just stole from Benny, so it's fine. You know, they launder it through Benny.
Yeah, and we get the basically answer to a question unasked of if Benny had just not gone back for multiple trips, he would have been able to escape and be a rich man, but he, greedy till the end,
There you go.
Came back and got him.
Lesson is as old as time. You know, there you go.
He's nothing if not greedy and inept, though. That was basically the character type of.
He's got some skills, but he's got profound moral failings. There you go.
But they literally ride off in the sunset. I was delighted. There really was not a scene in this movie that I thought was just bad or like. It was just kind of fun from beginning to end.
It's a fun film. There are films more philosophically profound, but whatever. Not every film has to be a think piece. Not every film has to be just shocking or impenetrably complex. And this film, it's fun, but it's well written. It's well produced. The same writer. It's a writer director, right?
He might have written it. The same director does the first two movies, and he actually does a lot of the. Well, he's got his hand in every single Mummy thing after this going forward, mind you. Yeah. But finish that though. I'll get to the director in a second. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking up my notes. 1 second.
I'll talk about the director then. So Stephen Sommers directed this. He does have. He did the direct first two Mummy movies. He directed a couple of G.I. Joe movies. He directed, quote, I don't know what this entails, but the Universal Studios ride about the Mummy. He produced the third Mummy movie, and he produced or executive produced all. And I'm going to have a question for you. How many Scorpion King movies do you think there are, Tommy?
Okay, wait. No, wait. There are two. There's. Wait. Okay. There's one with. Okay, The Rock is.
The Rock is the Scorpion King.
But aren't there two, right?
There's 5. The latest one came out in 2018 even. There was a 2015 and a 2018 one, but Stephen Sommers had his hand in all of those as well.
Oh my God.
I was stunned to hear that approaching COVID even, we had Scorpion King movies still popping out.
Wow, geez. I mean, like that's what we needed during COVID. Jeez.
Oh God, who disturbed the Mummy and brought the plague back?
Yeah, exactly.
The Rock dipped out after, I think, the second one. He was a bit part in, I think he's the antagonist of the second movie, actually, the Scorpion King, which is when they spun him off then. But 5 of them. 5! I don't know who they convinced to do that, but I think a lot of these did go straight to DVD, actually.
Sure.
But, and the last things, Stephen Sommers is also known for, like I said, the G.I. Joe movies, but he also did Odd Thomas and Van Helsing as a director. I know my boyfriend just loves Odd Thomas as a movie.
Sure.
And, who doesn't love campy Wolverine? Hugh Jackman, just fighting vampires also. So
there you go.
He's had a fun, like he didn't do a lot of serious movies type something. He sort of has a fun movie career. But I'll also say he was basically the one the studio landed on to have this movie have that same tone, because they had the Hellraiser guy, what's his name, Clive Barker, and then they even had George A. Romero attached to this film at certain points. And as you can imagine,
those would have been very different films.
Extremely different films and plans they had of darkness and whatnot, and how zombie-like and mummy-like type something things were. But they initially they ended on Stephen Sommers because he just has a great humor and action tone, which they loved for the action adventure family movie type something here.
Oh yeah. No, I honestly, it's the light touch and the humor that really is why I enjoy this film. It's just those quips, those jokes, that. Yeah, the film is delightful to me for that reason. And I just with, Clive Barker, just incredible filmmaker. But yeah, that would have been a very different film for sure.
No fun. Sure. Yeah, I can't imagine it would be nearly as interesting. Or Brendan Fraser may not have been cast in that role. They actually did talk about 2 other big names that almost, and almost is always, a sort of thing in casting. Who knows how almost. But Sylvester Stallone, and then one that was apparently real close was Leonardo DiCaprio, but he was filming The Beach at the time. He couldn't get his schedules lined up to do it.
Okay.
But that could have been
That would have made for an odd film.
interesting. I don't think he would have nailed the humor bits as much. I really think Brendan Fraser is what keeps me coming back to this movie.
Yeah, I can't imagine Sylvester Stallone in this role at all.
That one is the one that is out of
that's
left field,
that's just insane to me. And honestly, Leonardo DiCaprio, I also just can't because just physicality wise, no, just cute little twink Leonardo DiCaprio back in the late 90s. No.
It certainly would have given a different vibe because, Brendan Fraser, while not like a hulking man, is certainly a much bigger, stronger, imposing something over little Rachel Weisz.
He's a strapping man, and I just can't imagine Leonardo DiCaprio back in the day selling it. For sure. Something that we haven't touched on. This is a remake of a film from the 30s. There was an original Mummy film with Boris Karloff. Yeah, Boris Karloff as the Mummy. Yeah,
and they touch on, or like he throws a few Easter eggs in there from that movie. Like I believe there is a character named Ardeth Bay in there, which is what our Magi's name is. Ultimately. There is. I was reading just a bit on this earlier, but yeah, he pays homage to it.
That's right. The mummy disguises himself so that he can. I'm reading some notes here. And dons the name Ardeth Bay as an alias while he is searching for a Noxuna moon.
Okay, so it is the mummy himself in that one that has that at least for a bit.
And so that's the reference. Yeah. So. Yeah, cool.
I don't think there was too much in there because he obviously didn't want to be beholden to a 1930s movie 60-something years later, but he did say he was a fan of it, Stephen Sommers, and so that's part of where he gets some beats in this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Let's see. So
what do you want to do? We got cast and crew bits. We got a bit of fun trivia on this over time.
As we've already talked, the gayest moments in the film are clearly sucking men dry of all their fluids. But what are the straightest moments of the film? What might those be?
So in my gayest part of the movie thing, I will say this being 1999, there's really almost nothing to play with here as like actually being hinted as gay or any sort of gay character even slightly.
Yeah, no, we're getting catty here.
Maybe Jaunty Fez misogynist could have been a gay man with his woman hating powers and his looking down his nose at you type something. Very catty gay. So. My pick was the all-male cult that just hangs out in the desert in their breezy skirt base, where the Magi, who have apparently been doing this for 3,000 years, because there's not a woman to be seen in the Magi. If it's all just a sweaty desert cult with your bros, I have to imagine something happens there sometime, because desert bros get lonely.
Come on, we need a straight moment though. We need one straight moment in this entire film. Come on, there's got to be at least one.
There has to be. I'm sure.
Let's think. Let's see. Thinking that getting kissed means that you're falling in love. I don't know. Is that? I don't know. Am I too cynical? I don't know. Let's see. Come on. There's got to be one straight moment.
I know that what I have written down is the archetype Brendan Fraser plays basically mixed with the archetype of Evie. There's incredibly over-the-top masculinity and charm to the point that, like I mentioned, not only allows him to effortlessly tackle like every obstacle and antagonist, but also like effortlessly landing him the girl, because he doesn't put in a great deal of like romantic effort or interest in this so much as like he saves her several times and she's just like
he kisses her once and she that just drives her crazy. It's basically like, once again, we're pushing over bookshelves. It causes an insane chain reaction.
For sure. It was real early on too. This was the stolen like jail kiss. There wasn't a great deal of like physicality between them for the most part. But she's just drawn to his like pure manliness as he saves her time and time again with actions and decisiveness. And Evie is portrayed as a somewhat like absent-minded yet very smart sort of spinster who does not really seem to be pursuing love and is pursuing academia until she is literally swept off her feet.
She's maybe a bit cloistered in the library, orphaned, and that's basically her safe place, And so, sheltered perhaps, as we get a hint of from the museum curator, right? He's kind of just sheltered them there in the museum. And so, again, book smart, world dumb, right? She's not aware of the larger world in some sense, which is why she's always just running headlong in the danger. She's just, again, very curious, but just doesn't have a sense of just how dangerous this all is, and kind of like with a kiss, right? She doesn't have a sense of how dangerous that kiss is. It kind of unravels her. She's doesn't know what to do with it. She doesn't know what to do with Rick at all. But
she asks him like, "Why did you kiss me?" Being like kind of rolling over in her head and being like, "Why did that even happen?" And he's like, "I don't know. I was gonna die and I was horny." Like, what do you mean? And that's when she storms off. She's like, couldn't quite understand it, but
it's a adventure epic, but it's a love story. You have the power of love. You have the Mummy and Anakasuna Moon and their epic love affair that defied death, defied time, and almost reemerged once again had they not been thwarted by the concerted effort of how many people. And then we have a kind of the parallel love story of Rick and Evelyn, right? It starts off, with a small kiss, but it's, it endures throughout the film, and it becomes something real. Again, it's a love story too.
It's a very straight through line for sure, because it walks that just almost perfect popcorn flick line for being romantic enough, actiony enough, funny enough type something. And that's why I think it has something for everybody. It keeps you coming back to it because it's just so clever and funny, and it doesn't heavy-handedly like slap you with the romance or the whatever else. Like
it honestly it has something for everyone, and like what it has is very well balanced and portioned. Right, you never get overwhelmed by the action adventure part. You don't get overwhelmed by the comedy. The romance is nice, but it's never overwhelming. Like everything, it has its moment, and it just works as a great medley of themes and moments. And as I mentioned before, the comedy is what makes it really delightful to me. But it's an epic romance too, so it has grander themes. There's something meaningful there. It's not just a popcorn flick. So it's got some heart. So yeah.
We've been talking for a while, so I'm going to go through some of these things pretty quickly, I suppose. But we'll go through some of the big cast here. Brendan Fraser is still probably most known for The Mummy and his body of work type something. As I mentioned, he got there through George of the Jungle success, and as Tommy mentioned, Encino Man type stuff. He starts to get some bigger roles with like the Oscar bait movie Crash around that time, but then really kind of middles around for a while. And I say that very understandingly because we learn more and more over time what happened to Brendan Fraser. He had a big moment in 2003 where he was sexually assaulted by the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. He started to accrue longer-term injuries through stunts and stuff because he did all his own stunts, including, as we heard, hanging by his own neck in this movie type something. And so then just had some things going on in his life that kind of led him to just step back from Hollywood for a while. And so he started to do some smaller movies, some voice work, if anything, left in that, until he really had a big comeback recently with The Whale, where he won an Oscar for Best Actor.
He kind of falls off the radar for a bit, but then he came back in a huge way, for sure.
And when people learned why, he did have a big batch of support behind him.
And I say huge way, not just to make a pun about The Whale, but just like it was a spectacular performance. And so, we should perhaps have a podcast about that,
Yeah. And I mean, he shows him in Killers of the Flower Moon. So he's been on some bigger projects since he's come back. And frankly, it's good to see the renaissance.
I joke about Brendan Fraser in this film being a kind of gangly, hulking character, but a fine actor, and it's good that he kind of is having another moment. So
Rachel Weisz has a super long, basically list of stuff, and I never saw anything below a 5.0 rated anything. Like she must have a great agent, but she also has an Academy Award. She won Best Supporting Actress for The Constant Gardener in, I believe, 2006, 2005.
Okay.
But she's been in things like About a Boy, The Lovely Bones, one of the Bourne movies.
What I recently saw her in was the Haunting of Hill House.
Oh,
that
yeah,
series,
yeah.
On Netflix.
She's incredible in that.
Very good in that. Boy, that show just scared the piss out of me with its jump scares. Man, those are, if you like jump scares, whew, boy, if you don't, it's going to be a hard watch. It was a hard watch
when
for
they're
me.
in a car.
Oh, say no more. But man, did I almost soil my couch. Jeez. Anyway.
She tends to gravitate towards a lot of dramas, though, so it is interesting to see her in this in sort of a popcorny fun. And actually, I think she bailed on The Mummy 3 because she was pursuing, she's like, I'm an actress, as opposed to being like, there's another Mummy sequel to this one. So notably, yeah, she's in 2 of these Mummy films and then moves on to her more serious things. But yeah, she pops up in a bunch of stuff. She was Black Widow's adoptive mother in the Black Widow solo film. Mm-hmm. I think she has been in maybe even more of the Mike Flanagan verse after Haunting Hill House type stuff.
Yeah, let's see, which...
I forget if she was in Fall of House of Usher or something, but either way, she's incredible in what she's in there. Yeah,
Wait, I'm thinking of a different actress. Am I thinking of a different actress? Was that her?
Maybe. Honestly, if you told me it was Rachel Weisz, I'd believe you, but I also was shocked to hear that a bit because we need to confirm this real quick before we go further on this.
Before we make any wild claims about what she's been
While
in.
we're looking this up, I will talk about John Hannah briefly. This is the guy that played Jonathan. Yeah. I loved this guy growing up in that role, but I think if gun to my head, I couldn't have told you what else he's been in because he is he hails from Australia, but he seemed to have been in a lot of British fare.
The thing that I know him best is the Spartacus TV series.
Yeah, he was in Spartacus.
Yeah.
That's what I have down here as one of the things. He did some American projects like Spartacus, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or The Last of Us recently was some of the stuff that popped up for me. But he just had a ton of projects I've never seen that frankly intrigue me because as a great actor, I think, I do think a lot of them are just like UK-based or something that had them sort of not fall into my purview. So I'll have to take a look at that sometime. As mentioned, we should call this person out by name because he's not Billy Zane, in fact. Arnold Vosloo is a South African actor that plays Imhotep. Again, up until this morning, I believed that was Billy Zane. So I'm a little stunned more than anything. I didn't put too much together around Arnold Vosloo, but he's done a bunch of things, apparently. And he reportedly was kind of shocked himself that he got the role because he was like, I feel like villains usually get like big name actors, and he was not one at the time, and so he did a great job on that, I think.
Oh yeah, I thought he's great. I thought he looked good. I thought he was dramatic in just the right ways. It's kind of campy, kind of theatrical, but very serious. Like there's never any moment when he's kind of winking at the audience like, oh, look at me being silly. No, like he's just like fully invested and
very committed.
And it makes it work because it's a performance that easily could have been just real cheesy and just this could have been a very different film, like one that's like so bad it's good in a funny way. No, it's actually just a good film, and a lot of it is Arnold Vosloo.
The last thing I found in the cast and crew that interests me about this, the guy that did the composer work of this film, Jerry Goldsmith, he does really great work here. But when looking at his like film credits, I was kind of stunned that he had like a ton of composer credits, and like he still has some up until like last year or whatever, despite having died in 2004. And what it was is that this guy wrote the Universal theme. Like whenever the globe comes out and it turns and you've got the movie coming on. Okay. I don't even know if I could do this for copyright reasons, frankly, or for whatever. Like I won't do it. You can look it up. But he wrote that. And so that's why he keeps being credited in a ton of these movies even today, because if they use that theme, that's him.
I'm looking at a list of his film credits, and honestly, it's pretty amazing. Chinatown, The Omen. One of my favorites, and we're totally doing a podcast on this, Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of my guilty pleasures.
Well, his last thing was like a Looney Tunes movie. So again, if The Omen, unless it's the original one, he might have done that. But some of those things you'll see, because he's listed in so many big name movies, and that's where I started to look more closely and was like, what did he do? Oh, okay. It was like the opening theme for that producer deal. But
Cool.
Several less bits. But this is really fun, especially because this has been like, it's 1999. There's a bunch more like things to pull on, or like interviews people have done over time about these movies with little bits of fun. I already covered the one that, Brendan Fraser nearly died while being hanged. And the director's like, Luca, don't dive. The library disaster scene we touched on several times was apparently done in one take. And if it got flubbed, they were going to have to spend over a day putting that back together. So they were very pleased that they got that whole domino effect thing done. I mentioned, Noxunamun only wearing a loincloth and pasties and a little bit of jewelry on her whatever stuff to look that spectacular. Shout out to the makeup artist because she definitely did, as Tommy said. He's going to use this for his concubines.
Mark my words.
Credit her.
Mark my words.
The production actually had the official support of the Moroccan army, and the cast members had kidnapping insurance taken out on them, a fact that the director did not disclose to the cast until shooting had finished.
Man, this guy, jeez. Wow. This guy's a scoundrel.
He cares a little bit about you. But for my history heads, Imhotep is a real historic figure, but he was not the high priest of Pharaoh Seti. He was the architect who developed the first pyramids in ancient Egypt, most notably the pyramid of Pharaoh Djoser, Djoser, at Saqqara around 2600 BC. His ability was such that he was said to have been descended from the gods, and his name means one who comes in peace, which, that's kind of play out.
Interesting.
Seti the first was a real pharaoh, but he actually ruled around 1300 BC, almost 1300 years after Imhotep died. Sure. So they were not bros. He did not cheat on him with her, but... And Noxunamun was a Egyptian princess who was half-sister and wife to Pharaoh Tutankhamun in a very Lannister situation, it seems.
Sure. Okay.
It is only in the second movie we do hear Ardeth Bay's name said aloud, so... Don't worry, my boy gets a little recognition coming up here because they let him live, if nothing else. But there is a novelization of the movie. Like I said, it does add some backstory stuff. It does talk about the more horrific bits of Imhotep's curse. It talks about the Carnahans, a.k.a. Jonathan and Evie's parents, a bit more. It'd be interesting because I do think there were a few things that were very lightly covered. And again, like they did a lot of good show don't tell. They did a bunch of not getting bogged down in backstory. So I'm not mad about that, or I'm not sad about any of these things not being in the film so much as to say, if you're a huge mummy head, there's a bit more you could learn about it out there.
Sure.
The man that plays Benny is named Kevin J. O'Connor, and when I'm scrolling through just tons of bits about this movie and trivia, this one just struck me as video head cleaner material. Kevin J. O'Connor had been roughed up so much during the filming of the scene with Benny in the Egyptologist office that he was badly bruised and his nipples had to be iced afterward. So... If you were wondering if anybody's nipples had to be iced afterwards in this movie, they were.
I'm gonna have to go back and like watch that scene. Like, what happened to his nipples?
What did you do to Benny's nipples?
Jeez, that's interesting bit of trivia. Well, there you go.
Yeah, and this was filmed out in various parts of Africa, not Egypt itself, but it was pretty hot out there. They had several people having to be airlifted and stuff. They made up a concoction that had to be drank every 2 hours to keep people hydrated. So Stephen Summers, cracking that whip, getting his shots. Cause,
I had no idea. This guy was so hardcore. Wow. Jeez. Forcing some method acting on Brendan Fraser there. Jeez. Did he ham die? The guy who played the mummy, like, geez, like we're gonna gut you and bury you alive, just so you get a sense of what you're feeling here in this scene.
Yes, Tommy, those were not Billy Zane's fingernail marks in the sarcophagus. Stephen Summers, death is only the beginning. And then he put it in the film. Yeah, Stephen was like, that's a good touch.
Method all the way.
Yes. We'll get to the end here, this sort of ratings and ending wrap-up. I do want to say, Tommy and I both love film and cinema and stuff. It is hard to sort of, slap just a simplistic number out of 10 on something or whatever. we may find our own rating systems. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like what do these numbers mean? Is this the best film of all time? I don't know about that. Is it a fine film? Yeah, it's a fine film. There are plenty of very philosophically profound films that I've watched that I don't think are not as, I don't know, solid. Again, like I don't like, what does this even mean? I don't know.
Enjoyable.
But,
yeah, I mean, this is just a sort of, again, popcorn flick type something.
Maybe in comparing it to other films that are as adventurous and epic, you can think of, again, we mentioned Indiana Jones, so like, stacking up against some like, good old fashioned Raiders of the Lost Ark fare. I don't know. I mean, it was a fun film. Like, does this have the artistry that Spielberg brings to? But whatever. It's a fine film. I very much enjoyed it, and I was never bored, and I was never displeased. So
let's riff there for a second, actually, just because I saw one reviewer talk about how this was Indiana Jones crossed with the Terminator, that seemed kind of akin.
Honestly, I was kind of I was thinking about kind of along these lines, like, what does this remind me of? Honestly, it kind of reminds me of Dracula.
Yeah.
Like this is very much, to me, it's a film where an ancient evil is kind of unearthed or released by someone kind of hapless. This villain sees who he thinks is the reincarnation of a long lost love, tries to abduct her, is initially thwarted, kind of abducts her, but not really. I don't know, there seem to be some parallels, maybe just in the structure of it, like they both kind of have a kind of gothic horror villain. I don't know, but I was remarking that this seems kind of similar to, like, I saw Nosferatu recently. It's
right.
like, it's like kind of feels similar in a kind of vague way, maybe. But,
for sure. Have you ever seen Romancing the Stone?
Yeah.
I feel like it pulls tonally from that, because like Indiana Jones is a bit more serious. It still has fun and stuff.
Yeah,
and like,
you just nailed it right there. Yeah, Romancing the Stone. This is kind of like Romancing the Stone with a. Well, I don't know. They punch a lot of people on Romancing the Stone. Yeah,
I feel like it's that plus an Indiana Jones. There's some things you could mix in here percentage wise.
If Romancing the Stone was a period piece, then it would be The Mummy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's a fun one, and I think that's what I would drive home most of all about The Mummy. It's just a fun film. Like, some of the jokes may come off as corny to you or something, but I can't quibble with it. I think it's all cute. Yeah. I think it's very fun and well acted, and Brendan Fraser's having the time of his life type something, it seems. And so, all that to wrap back around, I think the most useful thing about the rating system, at least for me, is that it shows how the audience or the critics react in this. And so, like, it sits at a 7.1 of 10 on IMDb overall. It has a 62% of Rotten Tomatoes with only a 48 out of 100 on Metacritic. And a lot of that shocks me. Like, I'm kind of shocked that any of it would dip below a 7 of 10 almost.
That seems harsh.
Real low. And there's like a 14-point difference between, like, if you look, like, critics, how they feel about this movie versus audiences, with audiences skewing about 74% and critics in, like, the low 60s. And again, I think it's kind of a, what do you want out of a movie? Or do you need everything to be, like, deeply themed or whatever? Because I really can't pull, like, a big running theme or like a lesson or something out of this movie besides maybe if a curse box says, hey, I'm going to curse you and eat all of your fluids, be like, we don't open that box. But that's not really a deep theme.
Well, it's a love story. There are some lessons about greed. I don't know.
There's greed. I guess going about love the right way. Sure. Maybe don't cheat on your bro with his wife, because then you'll be tormented for 3,000 years. Versus just a little meet cute with a librarian, which is all fine.
It's about the enduring power of love, for better and for worse. So there you go.
But it's such a charming movie, and that's why that does shock me a bit. Just anytime it happened on my TV screen, like I sit in cable, I would just kind of keep it on there and be like until the end, really. And I on a rewatch, I really found nothing to quibble about. Like mentioned, seeing it with fresh eyes, I guess. Yeah, I mean. if you're a real serious movie person, including Rachel Wise, who was like, you know what, maybe these movies aren't for me after 2 of them, like, I get it, I guess. But I don't know. I'd give it a 9 to 10 at least. Like, I think it really did everything I wanted it to for a movie.
Yeah. I liked it. Yeah. And again, watching it some number of years after first seeing it, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was expecting to pan the film, and no, I liked it. No, I kind of had a 180 on it. I was like, no, this is a solid film. I liked it.
It's super neat. And maybe sometime we'll wrap back around to doing the sequels. I don't know about Scorpion King 4 or 5 or something there, but there is the second sequel, I believe, holds up, or the first sequel, the second movie, holds up pretty well. The third one is where it starts to lose me a bit because they have a child that's kind of obnoxious and annoying, and like I said, Rachel Weisz dips out. So I think even she took a look at that script and was like,
Sure.
You can recast me.
She'd gotten paid well. She had some leeway, some flexibility to.
But I'm also not pinning us into only, watching good movies. So we'll see what we have here. But
quote unquote good film. Like again, like not we. I don't want to always review think pieces. There's the cinematic universe. It takes all kinds, and it has all kinds of delights, and some of those are heavy and dense to the point of inscrutability, but they're wonderful for that reason. And then other films are like The Mummy, which are very accessible and are fun and there's a place for that too. So,
for sure.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I have one errata that I feel the need to touch on. Kyle, would you please tell me the name of the actress who plays Ripley in Death of a Unicorn?
It's Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. Jenna. I'm going to say this a million times so I don't forget. Jenna. I was all over the place with her name. Jenny, Jenna. My apologies.
You Forrest Gumped her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jenna.
Yeah.
She could go by Jenny. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know Jenna, I suppose. But
Jenna Ortega is her name. Just to be perfectly clear. So that is my errata. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we depart?
Not too much.
Right.
I don't know if we have a movie picked up on the horizon. We are going to start having guests at some time. We're going to have some of our friends and people in the business and all sorts of stuff on. We're going to let them pick the films so that they are passionate about them and have something to say, and then we will watch them alongside them. So
yeah, I think that'll give a new perspective, but also an enthusiastic one too. I'm always happy to hear people talk about their favorite films.
Certainly.
So
we've heard things name dropped like Scooby-Doo or Burlesque or Showgirls or all sorts of fun things that we may be covering in the near future.
Yeah.
But we're excited to introduce you to some of our good friends and people also knowledgeable about talking, and good funny people too, mind you.
Exactly. Well, my name is Tommy.
I'm Kyle.
And this has been Video Head Cleaner. Make sure to check us out next time. And until then,
see you later.
See you later.